This is Bama-Q Live. I'm Lisa Blackwell, and today we've got Bruce Johnson here from Deep South Sauce Company. And Bruce, you're cooking up something special for us, right?
You bet, Lisa. So today we're going to do, I'm going to call it a comfort meal. We're going to use a chuck roast cut from Hassell Cattle. We're going to do some barbecue smoked mac and cheese with a little kick to it with some spicy crackers on top. And of course we have to have a vegetable. So we're going to do a little broccolini
Yes.
on the grill. So, you know, today we chose the chuck today. I'm going to call it the less expensive. Some people call it the poor man's brisket because it has a lot of the same characteristics of a brisket, but it's not quite as expensive. One thing I like about this one, they come in about 5 pounds. This one here, I've seen them at the grocery stores, or you can get butchers 2.5, 3 pounds. So it's not as big as your normal briskets. Therefore, there's not as much meat to buy, and it's a less expensive cut. And this came literally right out of the package. I didn't trim it or anything, and it's ready to go.
Ready to go.
Right? So a lot of times when you get a brisket, you got to spend
gotta work
15,
on
20
it.
minutes to clean it up and trim it down. So we're going to treat it a lot like that because it is a working muscle, although the brisket, you know, is in that chest area, and this is more in the back area,
Okay.
right? It's actually towards the neck from the prime rib area. Okay, so it's got a lot of the marbling. You can see here, it's got a lot of great marbling. And of course, this
Yeah.
is the Hassell Cattle, you know, Wagyu. So it's going to be really nice. But they normally have the marbling of a ribeye. But it does, because it's a working muscle, it is a little tougher. But it has a lot of flavor because of that as well.
And if you know how to work that muscle, you can get some good flavor out of it.
Exactly.
Huh?
So for the most part, we're going to treat this exactly like we would do a brisket. Now, most people, you probably remember, you know, your mom probably did pot roast, chuck roast, that kind of thing.
Yes,
so
she did.
we're going to smoke it low and slow, just like we would a brisket. I'm going to put a binder on it. I'm going to use our Deep South True Gold mustard, right? It
Always
does have,
delicious.
yes, I'm going to put that as our binder, our base layer. It's a little bit different than your traditional mustards in that while it does have a mustard base, it's got some balsamic vinegar in there, so that's going to give it a little bit sharper note, and also some brown sugar and molasses is in there as well. It even has anchovies and Worcestershire, right?
Oh,
so it
got some
does
anchovies
it
in
does
there.
have a lot of flavors that beef loves. The other thing that beef loves is hardened seasoning, right? And this
yes.
thing, right, while salt is in there, I'm not going to add any other salt. I'm going to use just this, no more salt, because there's plenty of salt in here. Salt, pepper, other spices, you know, basil, oregano, etc. So be pretty liberal, right? This is a big piece of meat. So you can be pretty liberal.
A little more heavy-handed
That's
with it,
right.
huh? That's good stuff. I love the hardened seasoning. I put
do
it on
too.
just about everything.
Yep, you want to cover all sides here, right? Nice coating all sides. Now, we've got the smoker. Of course, we did one of these earlier because we're not going to wait the 6 to 8 hours it takes to cook this on the show here. So we already did one earlier, but I would normally do this. I'd have my smoker getting up to 225 to 250, right? Because again, low and slow. I'm going to put a water pan underneath it to mostly protect and keep my grill plates clean, and add a little moisture in the air.
Moisture.
And just like I would a brisket, I'm going to watch it to about 160, 165 where I like the bark, and then I'm going to wrap it. Now in this case, I put a little bit of beef stock in when I wrapped it in aluminum foil to help it braise, right? So it really needs to help break down and tenderize that meat. And then we're going to take it up to about 202, 203. And then we're going to pull it off. We're going to wrap it in a towel and set it aside, hopefully for an hour to 2 hours, to let it continue to break down. And while we had to do this one this morning a little faster than that, you can do a couple things with this, and we can also talk about it later. But once it's done, you can let it cool a little bit to about a 150 internal temperature, and you can slice it, right, thinly, and use it, and then maybe put a gravy over it. You could take that, you could still put it in a crock pot with your vegetables and make a smoked,
it a little more.
right, a smoked stew. And then if you let it go a little bit longer, it gets more tender. And there's different muscle groups in here. In fact, if you see, of course, it's already covered up. There was different muscles in here. Some muscles are going to be easier to pull. So this would also be a good pulled beef for tacos, etc. Right? Very versatile cut of meat, very rich in flavor, very tender once we cook it properly because of all that marbling. And it's none of that hard fat that you get in the brisket sometimes, right? So there wasn't any trim work, and we're done. Now, if my grill's ready, I'm going to go put it on my grill. This one I'm going to set aside right now. Now, the next piece of our meal is our barbecue macaroni and cheese.
Oh, I love macaroni and cheese.
Now, one thing I really like about doing this is I did this yesterday. I did the bulk of the work yesterday. So if you have a large family gathering that's coming and there's a lot of things to prepare, this is one of those great things you can do ahead of time.
That's nice.
Right? Now, we can post the recipe that I used today for my mac and cheese, but I'll just say use your favorite mac and cheese recipe, right? So it's going to be a pound of pasta. And then you make your cheese sauce. I made a cheese sauce. Now, in true Deep South style, we kicked up the sauce a little bit. I put 2 tablespoons of our True Gold in my cheese sauce and mixed it in, and I put 2 tablespoons of our Smoke and Fire to give it a little heat in there instead of using hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
So we got a little mustard kick in there and a little hot sauce kick to it, a little habanero. The next thing I'm going to do is half the cheese I left out. So I have sharp cheddar, Parmesan, and Gouda shredded.
And you always like to put Gouda in a lot of things.
I love Gouda.
Yes, you get Gouda and this and that.
Right.
And
So
your meatballs had Gouda.
Yep. So I did the noodles last night, did my cheese sauce, put it together, put it in this pan, it's been in the fridge overnight. And I'm going to take the other half of the cheese and I'm just going to spread it out on top of it. And if you'll do me a favor, take those Smokehouse crackers and crush them in the bag.
Oh.
We're going to make crumbles out of them.
Okay.
All right. Now again, the great thing about this can go on your smoker.
Sounds like it popped there.
Just get it all nice and crushed. This can go on your smoker once you wrap your chuck roast. You got about probably 2 hours left, or you can put it on the smoker after you take it off while it's resting. This will take about an hour, hour and a half at 250 on your smoker. You can go hotter if you need to, and you can certainly put it in the oven if you had to. Just be careful of the browning on the crackers. If it starts to brown on top, get too dark, just put some foil over it.
Should you maybe put some foil on it to start and then pull your foil off for the last so many minutes?
If that's the way you would normally do it, I'm not going to say you change that, but the way I do it is I do it without covering it.
Okay.
And then I cover at the end if I think it needs it.
So.
Okay?
Okay.
So now we just put these Smokehouse spicy crackers. If you've never had them,
they're delicious.
They are delicious.
Oh.
They're we'll just call them saltines with a really good kick, right? I love these things with raw oysters.
Oh, I can't do oysters.
If you like oysters, use these crackers with it. But it's also a great topping that's interesting and different than what other people would normally do, right?
And it'll give that an extra kick.
Exactly, it does. So with our mustard in there, with the Smoke and Fire in there, and now with these crackers on top, that should be a nice, we'll just say lively bite. A little later when we make our plate.
Can't wait to try this.
Yep, so I'm going to set this aside too,
Okay.
and we got one more, and then I think we're ready to put this meal together.
We got our vegetable here, our greens.
You have to have a vegetable, right?
Yes, you got to have a vegetable.
Mama says always got to have a vegetable, you don't get dessert.
That's what my mama said.
So I like to grill broccolini, not broccoli, right? That's a little too dense for me. I like broccolini, baby broccolini, or as it's also called. And I just take it, this came from the supermarket or farmer's market. I'm just going to cut the bottoms off where it's a little thick. And this is very simple. I'm just going to put it back in the pan. if I had some olive oil or something, just use a cooking oil, give it a nice coat. Salt, pepper, in this case I'm going to use hardened seasoning just to kind of keep tying everything together. Just going to sprinkle a little hardened seasoning in there. Toss it around. At the moment, my pellet grill, I really like this. I'm not normally a pellet grill user, but this particular one did a great job smoking the stuff earlier today, but it also has a sear option on it.
Oh.
So I'm going to use the sear option. I've turned it up a little
your
bit, and we're going to sear the broccolini. So while we do that, and then we'll get the plate ready to put together. So
and then we get to eat.
Then we get to eat. All right.
So you just put it right on there.
Just put it right on. Make sure your grill grates are clean. You oiled the broccolini so that you don't need to add much more oil on there, and just let it go. It'll, you want to get that crispy outside.
Crispy outside.
You know, the little
and
char.
kind of a tender inside.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to get a little char
Sounds
to it.
really good.
And that would be really good. So, get that one out of my way. All right, so now we're going to put our plate together.
Nice, clean, disposable cutting board.
Yes, I love these cutting boards.
Make it easy.
It's one of the tricks that we always use, especially when we're on the road and we don't have access to our kitchen.
Right.
Because we can't clean, so we can just use these disposables, throw them away.
Nice and handy.
Yes.
And you can measure with them too. Well, these you can.
Yeah, when you're,
Nice.
I don't know what other people use those for. When we cut some of our meats in competition, you want to be consistent in the thickness of your cuts, and that's one thing you could do to help with that. It could also use this when you're making bread and stuff like that, the length. So I don't know, I'm not a baker, so I might be a little out of my depth there. All right, so we're gonna have our plate here.
Okay.
I guess the first thing we'll plate up, we'll take a look at the macaroni and cheese. Now this was the macaroni and cheese that I cooked a little earlier.
Voila.
Yep, I put the I put the
looky
foil on
there.
top,
Yep,
right?
yeah, crackers are browned a little bit, not too much.
Nope.
Yep.
So, and again, it was easy because I made most of it ahead of time and just put this on the smoker after I was done with the chuck roast, right? So let's spoon a little bit into this bowl. Do you like the edge or the center? Ooey gooey.
Maybe the edge.
Let's go with the edge here.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter the macaroni and cheese recipe that you use. Whatever your favorite noodle is, or like me, whatever noodle I had in the house. So there's our mac and cheese with the crust on top.
And
now,
all these recipes are going to be out on the Facebook.
Correct. Yeah, we'll
website
have
or
it
whatever,
posted after this.
Yeah.
All right. So I had my chuck roast wrapped in my towel, staying warm. Put that to the side in my aluminum foil. Now I'm using this pan right here just so the juices don't run everywhere. See the juice in here. Hopefully that means that we have a juicy piece of meat.
Oh, that looks good.
Yep. So there you
Wow,
go.
look at that.
You could certainly save that.
Just trust me, it
save
smells
those juices.
so
Yeah.
good.
I mean, just look at the colors that
look at
you
that.
get. The mustard has gone away. The hardens really helps put a nice color on it, right? And then, I mean, you can just see.
Juicy.
Can you see the juices coming out of this? I don't want to squeeze it all out because it'll take it, but we got a juicy piece of meat.
Yeah, that looks
so
great.
I'm going to cut this. Now, again, you treat this a lot like you do a brisket, so you want to cut across the grain. Now, I'm going to cut it a little different. I'm just going to take an edge off just so we can, leave it for later. So I'm just going to take this back corner off right here. And I don't know if you can see the smoke ring there that we got.
Yes, you can, right there.
Yep.
Smoke ring.
Yep, so you can see the smoke ring. You can kind of see the intermuscular fats here And the low and slow helps break those down. Like I said, we did it more hot and fast today, but you definitely want to do a low and slow. Look at that smoke ring. That looks really good. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this back here. Lay this right here. Just move this to the side and I'll check the broccolini.
It's really tempting. Oh wow, look at that. Looks great.
And I like mine still with some texture, right? Because we want that vibrant green color. You can see some of the char on it. Just wipe this off real quick.
Very green, very colorful.
And there you go. It's I call this a nice, easy comfort meal because you can do a lot of the stuff ahead of time. I will say, you know, I forgot to mention it earlier, but when you put your mustard and rub on there, if you could let it sit in the refrigerator for 6 to 12 hours before you use it, it'll really help those flavors penetrate and get into the meat. And I think you'll have a better product. So with that, we have our low and slow smoked chuck roast with our True Gold sauce, hardens seasoning on the outside. We have our barbecue smoked macaroni and cheese with True Gold sauce in it and our smoke and fire sauce, and then the Smokehouse crackers with the kick on top, and then just a grilled simple broccolini with a little oil and hardened sauce on it.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it looks so good. So am I allowed to go and dig in and
Absolutely.
have okay, we know I'm going to go for this first.
Yes.
Okay, because I love mac and cheese, so go in here. Okay.
I think I let it cool down enough that you wouldn't burn yourself.
Oh, that's delicious.
Very good, yeah.
We'll get that little bit of kick. That tastes amazing.
In fact, if you don't mind, I'll just cut you a little bit off here.
Okay. There we
let
go.
You have that. Get you a nice crusty piece. I love the outside. I'm going to have a piece myself.
Oh my goodness. That is so good. Wow. That is absolutely delicious.
Very reminiscent of a brisket, but not near the expense. And smaller, because you can buy it in smaller pieces.
Oh.
Just go ask for your butcher. They'll do it about 2.5, 3 pounds. This was a 5 pound today.
That is delicious.
All right. So I think we put together a pretty good meal today.
This is awesome. I think you guys are going to want to try this out. The recipe is simple. I mean, you can start it ahead of time. And it's absolutely delicious. You'll make everybody at your table very happy.
I'm going to be happy here when the camera goes off.
Well,
I'm finish eating.
We hope you really enjoyed this. We're going to keep eating. And we'll see you next time on Bama-Q Live.
Thank you.